Hello everyone and welcome to another horrific, disturbing, disgusting, exciting episode of Experience Kills, in which me and my co-host Richard...
I'm not a co-hoist, thank you.
are going to be looking at Left 4 Dead 3. Oh no, I'm sorry. World War Z by Saber Interactive.
It does.
See what I did there?
Yeah, it's very good. Yeah, it does look a lot like Left 4 Dead 3.
I mean, that is not a bad thing. Let me just say that is not a bad thing at all. This is a game that I think, well, it must have been, I'm trying to remember the sort of politics of it, but I know it was in development for a long time. I believe it was in development somewhere else for quite a while, and then it switched, and the license moved around, and there was going to be a sequel to the World War Z film, and then there wasn't a sequel, and now we have this World War Z game kind of just sat there by itself at a moderately sort of B-tier priced release, you know, without a film to connect to or really any reason to come out, except for the fact that it's filling a Left 4 Dead shaped hole really, really nicely, actually.
It's weird, isn't it? Anything Left 4 Dead or sort of World War Z related has kind of taken on the zombie life cycle, hasn't it? Just shambling along, trying to get itself somewhere for no real reason, and now it's out. Yeah, it's nice to have it, I guess. I mean, it's Valve's own fault for not following up with what people are asking for. We all want Left 4 Dead 3, but is this a good enough substitute?
I would say it's pretty damn close. I mean, there are a couple of technical things that hold it back from maybe being the perfect game, which we'll get into. But let's first of all talk about why we're calling it Left 4 Dead 3. Because at its core, it is a cooperative, four-player zombie shooting game in which you're going around killing zombies, you know, in hordes. There's even mention of an AI director, and to be honest, it does that better than any of the other co-op sort of shooters that have come out. Earthfall comes to mind, which I reviewed a little while ago. That didn't work great, but this has got actually a really good balance to when the enemies sort of attack you and the twos and fros of combat, much like Left 4 Dead did. It has special infected or special zombies, much like Left 4 Dead did, and they all basically follow the same tenets of the specials from Left 4 Dead. So you've got ones like a tank, which they call a bull. There's ones like the ones that jump on you. I can't remember what they were called. Can you remember the ones that jump on you? Hunters or reapers or something like that.
I was going to guess at leapers. Yeah, great minds.
Leapers, reapers, who knows? They got screamers. We've got every kind of tenant you can expect from those in there. Then you've got the same kind of weapon options, from SMGs to assault rifles. You've got a strong focus on melee weapons in this game as well, just like in Left 4 Dead 2. So there's lots of
even the animations,
similarities, but
the animations look the same, even like when a zombie mounts your character, and just looks exactly the same.
So the perspective has changed to third person in this, and the characters you choose actually, they flesh them out better than they did in Left 4 Dead. You actually get some kind of interesting little cutscenes that you can watch from their character menus and in the main menu. And the characters are specific to the different storylines. In there's 4 different storylines right now. So in New York, Moscow, Israel/Jerusalem, and Tokyo, and each of them have a different set of characters, which then can get fleshed out if you want to know more about them. And I actually really liked these little cutscenes that gave you some of their backstory and some of their setup. So that's definitely an improvement over Left 4 Dead. But things similar to Left 4 Dead as well is you've got that thing when they highlight your enemy to your AIs in the environment, so you can see where they are at all times, even through walls. It also does a thing where it draws attention if one of your allies has been taken down by a special, infected, and you need to get over there and help them. So lots of similar gameplay mechanics in that way, but then it does do things that set it apart. It does things to do with sort of character progression and leveling. So World War Z actually has character classes. So within these four different players you can look at, and they're visually different. They also have these quite a wide selection of different classes, everything from melee focused classes to ranged focused classes to support classes like healers to ones that focus on demolitions and explosives, and then they all have their own progression trees which you can level up using the currency in the game that you get from completing the missions, and then actually sort of progress through different skills and customize the characters in the ways you want. In addition, you also have gun leveling. So you have the basic sort of SMGs and assault rifles and everything like that, but each one of those then has a tier that you can upgrade the weapons through, and then that when you pick those different upgrades, they will then populate the levels with those higher level weapons that you've picked.
Oh, right.
For subsequent playthroughs.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So it's really cool, actually. There's a lot of sort of replayability in that system. While we've only got these 4 campaigns, each of which is broken into different chapters, I believe 3 different chapters for each. There is obviously the option for Saber Interactive to bring in more campaigns, either through DLC or free updates. I believe the Tokyo campaign was actually something they did post finishing the game and actually brought in as a title update at launch as free DLC. So hopefully they're going to continue to support it, because it's definitely that kind of game that would work very well with that sort of ongoing support.
Yeah, it all sounds very positive. It's a game that wasn't on my radar at all. I think mainly because, well, it's based on an old movie that in itself didn't really live up to its potential, and it's difficult to really understand why it's coming out now unless it's to tie in with the sequel film that isn't happening any longer. But
I don't know.
It seems as if it might sort of lose attention because of the timing, and the license itself may not really help it with when it's coming out. But having looked at the game, I wish I'd had a chance to play it like yourself. It looks really interesting and does fill a spot for me, hopefully, where Left 4 Dead isn't coming out anytime soon on current consoles.
Or ever, probably.
Or ever.
I mean, let's talk about the one big gameplay mechanic that makes this different from Left 4 Dead, and that's the zombies are fast. They are running zombies, and they come at you in the literal thousands, like waves, like a tide of undead monsters, and it can be incredibly intense. When you're holding positions with your 3 allies, be they bots or multiplayer real people, which is nice that you have that option in the game as well. And to be honest, the AI is pretty good at helping protect you, though it doesn't help you with the objectives within the missions. You kind of have to do all the legwork yourself, but they work well enough. Anyway, when you're facing these huge amounts of Zeeks, as they call them in this game, or Zeds, when they're charging at you like that, it's really, really, really scary and really cool and intense, and you feel like a complete freaking badass, either wading through them with melee weapons, unloading them on them with the heavy weapons, which there are multiples you can pick up throughout the environment, like grenade launchers or machine guns. And then they'll do things, they'll design the levels in ways in which you'll maybe have the high ground, and then the zombies will start ramping up off of each other like army ants, building pyramids against walls to try and reach you. So you're trying to knock these pyramids down with the heavy weapons or just whatever you've got to hand, maybe stationary gun emplacements and things like that. You'll also find in those bits, in those choke point parts, where you might find these stationary emplacements you can put down, be it barbed wire or electrifying fences or putting down auto turrets and stuff like that to help you defend those points. So there's lots of variety in the levels, and I mentioned the different locations, and those also add to that variety. They do all play differently, they're really well designed, they really play into the type of zombie experience that World War Z has, which is this quite unique type of zombie. It's not the kind of thing you've really ever seen in a game before. So what they do is they make them a threat because there's so many of them. The normal infected is just as dangerous as the specials if you don't pay attention to them charging at you. And of course the AI director plays a big part in that sort of to and fro of combat. He'll give you a breather so you can put on a med kit, so you can heal up your allies, so you can grab a new weapon. Then all of a sudden the onslaught continues and really sweeps you off your feet, and you're back into hectic fight for survival. The game is hard. Even on the easy settings, you need to pay attention to what you're doing, and I think there's like 4 or 5 difficulty settings. So you get up to that top tier, it's a real challenge. You need to really work together, and that's where the class system really comes into play, where you're going to be picking different classes that are beneficial to each other in the multiplayer experience. The healer's going to hang back, keep the guys up front. They'll go the melee focus and the combat focus guys healed up and protected while trying to, say, watch a flank or something like that. So there's more depth to it in many ways than a conventional Left 4 Dead game. It really tries to do something a bit different and a bit new with the genre, and I can't really commend them enough for that. It's really impressive.
That's good. I really want to buy it now. You've convinced me. We do a pretty good show, actually, don't we? If you can convince me, I'm sure there's someone else listening who's going to buy it now. But yeah.
I mean, you are correct, though. I don't think it was on anyone's radar because no one else on my friends list is playing this.
No.
And I have a pretty, I'm not bragging, I've got quite a lot of people on my friends list after being on Xbox Live for 15 years. And when I'm playing a game for review, I actually often look at that and to see, gauge interest. And there's literally no one else playing it. Even though it's a B tier priced game, £35, that kind of spot, nobody's picked it up. And I think it's going to go massively under the radar and be really underrated by a lot of people, which is a shame, because I think, in a way, having that name, World War Z, is hurting it.
Yeah.
Because the film wasn't maybe the most well-regarded thing. It was obviously a long time ago. And they haven't really taken a huge amount from the film, other than some of the locations and the concept of the fast zombies that ramp. It's in many ways closer to the book in the locations that they then further get into, like, for example, Tokyo and the Russian setting, which wasn't in the movies at all, but was actually cut from the film, but it obviously plays a big part of the book, which I'll admit, rereading at the moment, which is still a fantastic book if you've not checked it out. I think this is a great accompaniment to the book. Obviously, the book has the slower zombies, but the visual style of these fast zombies, when they ramp up on each other, like the ants sort of mentality, it's truly unique and really, really off-putting. I will mention, though, in relation to that, there's a couple of technical drawbacks in the game. The audio isn't great. Some dialogue lines have been recorded at a very low quality and compressed. Explosions are almost non-existent in this game, which is weird. And you can kind of understand why, because if you're firing off big explosions, when you're firing at these huge pyramids of zombies, that's obviously going to have a big impact on frame rate and be quite difficult to optimize on the current hardware. So I think they've maybe decided to minimize that explosions and stuff like that, and focus on making the zombie hordes look cool and threatening and dense with lots and lots of creatures, and I'm glad they went that way if it was a technical reason for doing so. But yeah, explosions are a bit underwhelming in sound and visuals, which is a little bit of a shame, because ideally when I'm firing a grenade launcher or a rocket launcher, I want a huge plume of fire and smoke, and there really isn't any. It's a little bit strange. It's almost like you think it hasn't loaded in, but it's just a choice, I think, technically. That's because they are obviously running so much computational power on these hordes. Well,
I was thinking that. I was looking at the videos of it and thinking, well, it wasn't that long ago you'd be looking at something like that and thinking that has to be pre-rendered. They are chucking a lot of bodies around in this engine.
Oh yeah, it's incredible. And they cheat sometimes. They do cheat sometimes. Like the main thing I've noticed is, like, when you're firing into one of these pyramids with just one of your automatic weapons, you seem to kill more zombies than you should. Do you know what I mean? It's like your bullets seem to be more effective than they maybe should be, and that might be because I'm playing on a lower difficulty when I've noticed that, or something to that effect. But the regular zombies, I think what they've decided, it's a balancing act, isn't it? If every one of those Zeeks needed a headshot to drop, it would be impossible.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? You'd be destroyed every time. Yeah. So I think they've tried to balance it so you have that power trip, you feel powerful, and like you can do a lot of damage, and at the same time balanced against realism, So I think they do a really good job with that. And yeah, including those special zombies, with the screamers, which will bring in more hordes. On top of you, the bulls, which will just rush you and start slamming you into the ground, and everybody has to shoot at them to get them off you and stuff like that. The guys that jump on you and then pin you, they're quite easy to kill, but they can come out of anywhere. It's fun that they're there. They're not from the book or the film, as far as I know, but they put them in there because Left 4 Dead up this place. Yes. It's a cool game that people should pick up. People should try.
I'm gonna maybe look into that. That does look cool.
It's really good fun. I'd love to play it with you. It'd be really cool.
Yeah, well, let's give it a go. Let's give it a go sometime over the next couple of weeks. Hopefully, if I get enough money together,
maybe we'll revisit discussing this on a future podcast.
Yes, indeed. Look forward to it.
So I think that brings us to the end of our discussion of World War Z, unless you've got anything else you wanted to ask me, Rich?
I don't think so, mate. No, just looking forward to trying it out for myself.
Fantastic. So please like and subscribe to this video and the channel on YouTube. That really helps us raise visibility of our content. We don't advertise on here. We don't monetize in any way. I don't have a silly Patreon asking you for, $5 just because I'm desperate to eat or anything like that. We do this just for the love of it. So it would help us greatly to increase our visibility with a like and subscribe. You can also listen to the audio versions on the bus of all of our videos if you, for example, don't have the time to watch things, and that can be downloaded downloaded via iTunes or Spotify or through the raw RSS feed, which can be found in the video description. You can find us at Experience Kills on Twitter. I can be found at DIYE. Richard can be found...
I'm at Colonel Red on Twitter.
And I believe that's all the housekeeping we have for today. So please stay tuned for more Experience Kills videos. There's always more coming. And we'll be back soon, just as predictably as the zombie hordes would be in a real apocalypse. Trust me, guys, it's still coming. Bye-bye.